Visualize a random parking lot on any given weekday morning. Right there, in its usual spot, sits a 2011 Honda Civic. Its paint has seen better days. There's a minor dent decorating the back bumper, and a classic pine tree air freshener hangs from the rearview mirror. Without fail, the driver pulls up at exactly 8:47 a.m. He carries the same coffee mug, wears the same faded jacket, and offers a silent nod to the person holding the entrance door. In the office, his colleagues have quietly constructed a narrative about his life. They would never voice it openly, of course, but their thoughts are evident. It shows when they overlook him while organizing after-work dinners, or when they automatically assume he won't participate in a group gift fund. This bias manifests in those subtle, unspoken social evaluations that constantly surround anyone who appears to be merely surviving financially. What none of his coworkers realize, and what he has never once brought up, is that he holds a $4.2 million portfolio sitting quietly in index funds. His mortgage is completely paid off. His children's college tuition is entirely secured. If he wanted to, he could walk straight into his manager's office tomorrow, say his goodbyes, and quit on the spot without it impacting his lifestyle in the slightest. Yet, he deliberately drives that Civic. It's not due to a lack of money. It's because he grasps a fundamental truth about wealth that most people fail to see. Make sure to watch this until the very end, because we are going to explore a connection that the majority of people completely miss. This isn't just about the numbers or standard investing tactics. We are diving into the underlying psychology, what you are truly paying for when you shell out cash just to appear successful. Once this reality clicks, your perspective changes forever. Before exploring the core strategy, it's essential to understand the true magnitude of what we are analyzing. If you assume this discussion is merely about extreme frugality, being cheap, driving junk cars, and surviving on instant noodles, prepare to have your mind changed. A groundbreaking piece of research titled "The Millionaire Next Door" spent years monitoring actual millionaires across the United States. These weren't A-list celebrities or high-profile tech moguls. They were ordinary millionaires, the type who live right down your street without making a sound. The data collected completely shattered the public's perception of what real wealth looks like. In reality, 80% of American millionaires are self-made, first-generation wealthy individuals. They didn't inherit their fortune. They accumulated it from scratch, through ordinary incomes over a long period. Furthermore, half of them have occupied the exact same residence for over 2 decades. Statistically speaking, you are far more likely to find them behind the wheel of a Ford than a Bentley. An automotive study by Experian backed this up, revealing that 61% of individuals making over $250,000 a year choose to drive Hondas, Toyotas, or Fords. They don't buy BMWs or Mercedes-Benzes. They opt for mainstream vehicles that blend effortlessly into any standard parking lot. Now, look at the alternative data. 8% of individuals taking home less than $100,000 annually are driving luxury automobiles. These people are purchasing $60,000 vehicles while generating only $50,000 in yearly income. Let that sink in for a moment. One segment of the population works hard to look rich, while the other segment actually possesses the money. The data proves these two groups are almost never the same people. Ironically, our entire cultural image of financial victory has been defined by the wrong demographic. The metrics go even deeper. Studies indicate that people who view capital primarily as a badge of status experience significantly lower overall financial fulfillment. They purchase high-end items, not because these objects provide enduring joy. They don't, which we will verify using neuroscience shortly, but rather to project an image. And maintaining those lifestyle signals, as it turns out, requires an immense amount of capital. This is the exact element that most commentators overlook, and it explains why simply knowing the data rarely alters human behavior. The obstacle isn't a lack of information, it's our mental programming. Let's clarify something crucial. The urge to display your spending is not a personal failure or a sign of superficial vanity. It is deeply rooted in human neurology, and recognizing this changes how you view consumerism. Over a century ago, sociologist Thorstein Veblen introduced the term conspicuous consumption. His primary argument was that consumers rarely buy goods solely for their practical utility. Instead, they purchase them for the status they signal. A $50,000 timepiece tracks the hours no better than a $50 alternative. That massive $49,950 premium serves exactly one purpose. It broadcasts social prestige to everyone around you. The desire to broadcast status is deeply prehistoric. Throughout human history, projecting visible cues of success meant better access to protection, resources, and community integration. As a result, the human brain developed a profound evolutionary focus on status preservation. The modern crisis arises because this ancient survival mechanism has collided with contemporary credit cards and social media algorithms. Look at what Instagram truly represents beneath the surface. It is a curated gallery of peak experiences. Your brain decodes those luxury images using the exact same primitive machinery our ancestors used to evaluate who held the most tribal resources. When you scroll past someone's lavish vacation photos, a primal reaction occurs, not because you logically need that exact trip, but because your internal status radar just registered a shift in your social standing compared to theirs. Compounding this is the psychological principle known as hedonic adaptation. The human brain possesses a default setting for happiness. When a positive event occurs, like buying a brand new car, upgrading your home, or securing a major raise, your happiness baseline spikes momentarily. Yet, within a matter of weeks or months, it settles right back to its original position. That shiny new vehicle simply becomes your everyday transport. The initial dopamine rush fades away, but those monthly car payments remain locked in. Consequently, the emotional dividend of visible consumption features an integrated expiration date, whereas the financial drain persists long-term. This stark imbalance is exactly what wealth studies reveal repeatedly. The purchase promises an emotional high it cannot sustain, leaving you with the invoice long after the thrill has died. Let's look at the actual mathematics behind this, using automobiles as our prime example since the pattern there is highly visible. Mathematically, the gap between a $30,000 vehicle and an $80,000 luxury car is $50,000. That's simple arithmetic, but it doesn't reflect the true economic sacrifice. If you took that $50,000 difference and put it into the market instead, earning a standard 7% average annual compound return over 25 years, it would grow into roughly $270,000. That is the authentic price of choosing luxury over practicality. It's not just the price on the window sticker. It's the sticker price plus $250,000 of long-term financial security that you quietly forfeited. Now, apply this calculation to every status-driven purchase throughout a 40-year career. The designer labels, the high-end real estate, the luxury watches, the designer bags, and the first-class travel upgrades. Every single one carries a hidden secondary price tag that never shows up on your receipt. The massive compound growth of capital that could have been building your freedom instead. Consider this undeniable mathematical comparison. Imagine an individual making $200,000 a year who maintains a 25% savings rate. They are putting $50,000 annually to work in the markets. Over a 25-year timeline with a 7% return, their portfolio matures into roughly $3.4 million. Now imagine a second professional pulling in that exact same $200,000 salary, but they allocate the vast majority of it toward a flashy lifestyle, keeping only a 5% savings rate. They invest a mere $10,000 per year. Over the same time frame, with the identical 7% market return, they end up with roughly $680,000. They had the exact same income and the same career trajectory, yet one achieved 5 times the net worth of the other. The most striking part of this scenario? From an outside perspective, you would never guess this wealth gap existed. The individual with $680,000 looks incredibly rich, while the millionaire with $3.4 million looks completely ordinary. One spent a quarter century acting wealthy, while the other spent those 25 years actually becoming wealthy. To make this concept entirely concrete, let's look at two relatable professionals, Marcus and Jordan. Both of them joined the exact same corporation during the same month, starting with identical salaries of $85,000 per year. They operate in the same city, face the same daily commute, and receive the same corporate benefits. On paper, they appear completely identical. Marcus decides it's time to display his professional success. He signs a $650 a month lease on a premium BMW, rents an apartment in a trendy zip code, and completely upgrades his professional wardrobe. His social media profiles broadcast an image of total victory, which he feels justified in showing off because he earned it. He genuinely enjoys the lifestyle, at least initially. Meanwhile, Jordan makes moves that go entirely unnoticed. She purchases a reliable, pre-owned Toyota Camry and rents a comfortable, no-frills apartment that won't turn any heads. Crucially, she establishes an automated financial transfer for every payday. Before her salary even hits her main spending account, $1,100 is automatically routed directly into her brokerage account. She doesn't have to think about it or make a monthly choice. The money moves entirely on autopilot. None of their coworkers have any idea about their internal finances. At the annual corporate party, people admire and compliment Marcus's high-end watch. Jordan's modest watch simply keeps time. Fast forward a decade. Marcus has advanced his income to $130,000 a year. Yet, paradoxically, he feels far more financial anxiety now than he did when he was making $85,000. Every single salary bump instantly triggered a lifestyle upgrade. Today, he holds roughly $40,000 in market investments, alongside $28,000 in consumer debt. One bad financial month could completely derail his life. Jordan's salary has also climbed to $130,000. However, she now controls $310,000 in compounding investment assets, carries zero consumer debt, and keeps a solid 6-month cash emergency fund. Recently, she has begun evaluating whether she even wants to stay in her current corporate role, not out of panic, but because she now has the luxury to assess what truly fulfills her. She can ask herself that question. Marcus simply doesn't have that option. To the public, Marcus appears to be the more successful professional. Jordan just looks average. Yet, only one of them has achieved true freedom. Let's look at what behavioral research reveals about how people successfully shift their habits. This is about practical mechanics, not vague inspiration. Step 1. Pretend your salary increases do not exist. The most destructive financial trap isn't a single large purchase. It is lifestyle inflation. Every raise, bonus, or promotion frequently serves as a trigger for an automatic lifestyle upgrade. The human brain misinterprets a higher income as an open green light to consume more. Researchers refer to this as lifestyle creep, and it's the precise reason why high-earning professionals can easily end up broke. The counter strategy is straightforward, though it requires consistency. As your income scales up, keep your baseline living expenses completely flat. Channel the entirety of that new income straight into your investment portfolio. You have already established that you can live comfortably on your previous salary. A raise is not a consumer reward. It is raw fuel designed for long-term compounding. Step 2. Eliminate the need for willpower by automating your financial choices. Relying on sheer discipline is arguably the worst wealth-building strategy available. This isn't because humans are inherently weak. It's because behavioral science proves that we are naturally wired to prioritize immediate gratification over distant future security. Nobel laureate Daniel Kahneman dedicated decades of research to validating this psychological flaw. The solution isn't trying to develop superhuman willpower. It's removing the human decision-making process from the equation entirely. Set up an automated routing system that moves money from your paycheck into your investments before you ever have a chance to look at it. Because that capital disappears instantly, you won't feel like you are sacrificing or saving. You will simply adapt to living on the remaining balance. Your lifestyle naturally calibrates to whatever hits your checking account. This strategy keeps you on track during standard months and, more importantly, during stressful months when your financial discipline is tested the most. Step 3. Look at the cost per use rather than the upfront retail price. Before making any non-essential purchase, evaluate 2 core metrics. First, check the utilization cost. A high-quality $400 pair of boots worn 200 times equals a modest $2 per wear. Conversely, a $150 pair bought on a whim and worn only 4 times costs a hefty $37.50 per use. In the long run, the premium item was actually more economical, while the bargain buy turned out to be expensive. Second, consider the 10-year opportunity cost. Spending $3,000 today means forfeiting roughly $5,900 a decade from now, assuming a standard 7% market return. You aren't merely deciding whether to buy an item or not. You are choosing between having that item today or possessing double its economic value down the road. Step 4. Run a trial before making a permanent commitment. Most modern homes contain a graveyard of abandoned impulses, treadmills acting as clothing racks or musical instruments untouched after a few weeks. Establish a strict rule. Treat every new hobby as an unverified hypothesis. Rent the gear first, or utilize the most basic, inexpensive version for 90 days of consistent use. If your enthusiasm persists after 3 months, the interest is authentic. Most fleeting impulses will completely evaporate before that deadline, which is exactly the point. Step 5. Establish your personal enough threshold before consumer culture defines it for you. The vast majority of people never consciously map out what financial satisfaction looks like, meaning their goalpost is always just a little bit more. When making $60,000, they assume $90,000 will solve their problems. Once they hit $90,000, they become convinced that $130,000 is the magic number. The horizon recedes at the exact speed you travel, ensuring you never actually arrive. Individuals who attain genuine financial self-sufficiency eventually make a conscious, highly specific decision about what a fulfilling life costs them. Once their income clears that specific bar, they refuse to expand their consumption. Every single dollar above that threshold is channeled directly into the asset column. Step 6. Filter your digital inputs to reduce the psychological pull. Data shows that regular exposure to luxury lifestyle content on social networks directly intensifies the urge to make parallel purchases, even if you had zero prior intention of buying anything. You aren't making a conscious choice to crave those products. Your internal status radar is reacting automatically to the visual stimuli. The best defense isn't practicing stronger mental restraint. It's reducing the density of your social media feed. Second, consider the 10-year opportunity cost. Spending $3,000 today means forfeiting roughly $5,900 a decade from now, assuming a standard 7% market return. You aren't merely deciding whether to buy an item or not. You are choosing between having that item today or possessing double its economic value down the road. Step 4. Run a trial before making a permanent commitment. Most modern homes contain a graveyard of abandoned impulses, treadmills acting as clothing racks or musical instruments untouched after a few weeks. Establish a strict rule. Treat every new hobby as an unverified hypothesis. Rent the gear first, or utilize the most basic, inexpensive version for 90 days of consistent use. If your enthusiasm persists after 3 months, the interest is authentic. Most fleeting impulses will completely evaporate before that deadline, which is exactly the point. Let's re-examine the image we started with, the 2011 Honda Civic with its weathered paint. The quiet driver who arrives at 8:47 a.m. and politely holds the door open. Your perception of that vehicle has shifted, hasn't it? This isn't because older cars are inherently superior, nor is it because minimalist living possesses some innate moral superiority. It's because you now recognize that what is visible in a parking lot offers almost zero accurate data about a person's true financial reality. The observers who look down on that vehicle, who categorize it and file it away as a metric of low social standing, are interpreting a story based on completely incomplete data. The entire consumer system functions on this exact illusion. We process outward signals explicitly engineered to be read, construct mental narratives around them, and allow those stories to dictate our financial paths. The marketing sector counts on this. The consumer credit industry thrives on this. The entire foundation of modern consumerism relies on the consistency of that cultural misreading. The individuals who have truly decoded this dynamic, not just understanding it conceptually, but implementing it in real life, have made a definitive choice. Their objective was never to impress random strangers in a parking lot who won't remember them anyway. Their ultimate target was always complete autonomy, the quiet, unpretentious, uninstagrammable freedom of being able to say no when it's the correct path, and yes when it aligns with your authentic desires, without needing the next paycheck to make that choice possible. Every wealthy individual who continues to drive a practical Toyota long after they have the financial power to buy a supercar understands this equation at the level of daily action, not just theory. True wealth is never found in what you show off. It never was. Real wealth is measured by what you keep. If this perspective brought value to your financial journey, hit the subscribe button. It directly supports the creation of content like this. If this is your very first video with us, you've chosen the perfect moment to start. Our next episode dives straight into why compound interest feels completely invisible until it suddenly scales exponentially, and exactly how to leverage that mathematical wave before the masses even realize what game is being played.